evening and welcome to Sunday's 6-1, the headlines. Ukraine Peace Summit says that countries' territorial integrity must be respected, with calls for Russia to come to the table.
Peace is only possible if Russia abides by the basic rules and values which apply to all of us.
Israeli military announces daily combat pauses in southern Gaza for aid deliveries, but Netanyahu calls their plan unacceptable. German police shoot pickaxe-wielding man close to Euros soccer fan parade in Hamburg.
Draw for Dublin against Mayo sees them straight into the quarter-finals, as Galway and Armagh also play out a draw. And right in the hunt, Rory McIlroy is 3 off the lead, going into the final round of the US Open.
In Switzerland, a 2-day summit on devising a framework for peace to end the war in Ukraine has concluded. A joint declaration on the summit's 3 areas of discussion was supported by countries from Europe and North America. However, 11 of the countries represented did not sign the declaration.
It was an ambitious idea to gather leaders, but it may take yet another summit before Russia joins formal talks.
And we can speak to Liam now, who joins us. And Liam, do you think overall Ukraine will be pleased with the outcome of this summit?
I think Ukraine will be broadly pleased with the outcome of this. Economies from the global south did not sign the agreement. They are countries that still have economic ties with Russia. Now, one sticking point that it may come down to one sticking point that's mentioned within the joint communique that was released this afternoon, and that is the point which asked countries to sign up to recognising a confirmation of refraining from interfering with Ukraine's territorial integrity. And it's that subject, the issue of Ukraine's occupied land. It's a fifth of Ukraine is occupied, almost a fifth of Ukraine is occupied by Russian land. That has been a sticking point, a barrier to developing a peace process up until now. And so lots for Ukraine to take away from this conference, lots of positives, but that issue of occupied land, that is still going to dominate any future conference, and certainly one that involves Russia. Ray.
Okay, Liam, thank you. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has criticised plans announced by his own country's military to hold daily tactical pauses in fighting along one of the main roads into Gaza.
As fighting continues across large parts of Gaza, including Rafah, where a major Israeli offensive has been underway for weeks now. The funerals of the most recent Israeli soldiers to die there took place this weekend, with 8 soldiers killed in Rafah yesterday. Gaza's health ministry said today that more than 37,300 Palestinians have now died since this war began in the wake of the October 7th Hamas attacks. Fiona Mitchell, RTE News.
Police in Germany have shot a man who was armed with a pickaxe and apparent petrol bomb on a street in Hamburg. The man was seriously injured in the incident, which happened close to a fan zone at the Euro 2024 Championships.
Thousands of Dutch and Polish fans had descended on Hamburg today for the Euro 2024 clash between the Netherlands and Poland. Ahead of the game, which was played out this afternoon, supporters had been parading through the northern German city amid tight security. At around 12:30 in the St. Pauli area, a man carrying a pickaxe and apparent petrol bomb threatened police. Officers initially used pepper spray before shooting him a number of times in the lower body. The man, who sustained serious leg injuries, was treated at the scene before being transferred to hospital.
What we do know is a man came out of a pub, apparently with a pickaxe in one hand and a Molotov cocktail in the other. He apparently also tried to set fire to this Molotov cocktail and then ran towards various passers-by and police officers. And the police officers then made use of their firearms.
While the incident occurred close to a fan zone, police believe it was an isolated case and not connected to Euro 2024. However, in advance of the tournament, which began on Friday and runs until July 14th, German authorities were put on high alert for potential fan violence and terrorist attacks. Fergal O'Brien, RTE News.
The Department of Agriculture has confirmed it has fully suspended the operation of the Shannonside Foods plant in County Kildare. The move comes amid an investigation into activities involving the supply of equines for slaughter in the West.
Just call Borris again their home. They call it Borris. This is their home. They came to our shores with fear of the unknown.
Now they want the Taoiseach to intervene. Conor Kane, RTE News, Borris, County Tipperary.
Now coming up on 6-1, events take place across Dublin for the traditional Bloomsday celebration of Joyce.
And in sport, we're live in Pinehurst for the latest from the US Open. Plus, Kerry are into the quarterfinals with victory over Louth, while Monaghan's win over Meath leaves them third in their group. And the winner.
Welcome back. Events have been taking place across Dublin.
From the past to the modern day.
People may be surprised to know there's 150 real-life Dubliners mentioned in Ulysses. They're actually buried within the cemetery walls.
Among the real-life inspirations for characters in Ulysses who were buried in Glasnevin is the real-life Paddy Dignam.
This is the grave of Matthew F. Cain, the man who inspires the funeral of Paddy Dignam that takes place in Hades in Ulysses.
Today's event at Glasnevin Cemetery is part of the wider Bloomsday Festival, helping to bring James Joyce's Ulysses back to life. Fia Crokiona, RTE News.
Now let's get sport with Justin.
Right, thank you. Good evening. Defending champions Dublin are straight through to the All-Ireland quarter-finals, but they needed a late equaliser against Mayo at Dr. Hyde Park. That's as Galway have to face a preliminary quarter-final after letting a lead slip to group winners Armagh in Sligo.
Much, Joanne, and welcome to Mark.
Another Galway Armagh last round showdown. Both sides 2 from 2, both looking for the direct route to the All-Ireland quarter-finals. On a blustery day in Markievicz Park, Armagh had the wind advantage, but Galway were more efficient in handling conditions. It was point for point for much of the 35. A late Shane Walsh brace had the Connacht side up by 3, before Rian O'Neill grabbed a much-needed Armagh reply. Armagh took their time in assessing that first-half performance in the dressing room, but for much of the third quarter, Galway looked to be maintaining their upper hand. Liam Silk's point had them 5 to the good after 54 minutes. Just before the hour, though, things changed dramatically, and Armagh's resurgence was down to tribesmen error, a poor kick-out gifting a goal to Tiernan Kelly. Further scores from O'Neill and Conor Turbett then put Armagh ahead, and though Galway replied to edge in front once more, a late Stefan Campbell point ensured a draw this afternoon, and in the process, top spot for the Ulster side. Like Armagh, Dublin only needed a draw to end as group winners ahead of Mayo, and there was little between the sides in an enthralling contest at Dr. Hyde Park. Mayo fans called for a foul after Brian Fenton's fine block of Ryan O'Donoghue came to naught. 4 first-half points from Cormac Costello helped Dublin to a 7-6 half-time lead. Nip and tuck continued throughout the second half. Owen Merchant came close to a goal, but on an afternoon when the sides were level on 11 occasions, Ryan O'Donoghue had his side just in front with just 40 seconds to go. Dublin, though, would frustrate Mayo one more time. Costello's 7th point of the afternoon was the game's final kick. It was enough to see Dublin straight through to the quarter-finals. Joe Stack, RTE News.
Now, Kerry are also into the quarterfinals after a comfortable win over Louth, and Monaghan took third place in Group 4 with victory over Meath, meaning they must now travel for their preliminary quarterfinal.
Monaghan needed to avoid defeat to extend their championship season. Inside the opening 5 minutes, Barry McBennett's score opened a 3-point lead. With Rory Beggan way out of his goal, Monaghan lost possession and Meath capitalised fully.
Now can Meath get the ball away? Slipped through, there's still nobody in the Monaghan goal, and a chance for Cathal Hickey perhaps. And Meath have made them pay.
You could see the second the turnover happened, the Meath players had goal on their mind. It's a brilliant goal.
A point to the good at the break. Monaghan were 6 clear until the game's second goal.
Really good ball inside. There's a goal chance here for Monaghan, and it's taken. Fantastic finish for one of the players of the game at Barry McBennett.
In only the second championship meeting of the sides, Meath rallied. As the game headed for its conclusion, the deficit was down to 2. However, Monaghan prevailed to win by 3 and progressed to an away preliminary quarter-final. Kerry topped the group with a 100% record. The Munster champions were too strong for Louth. Dermot O'Connor with a second-half goal. 5 players were yellow-carded, 3 from Louth and 2 from Kerry. When order was eventually restored immediately after the goal, the returning Tig Morley scored Kerry's second goal. 14 points was the final winning margin. Dave Kelly, RTE News.
Laois are through to the semi-final of the Tailteann Cup after they beat Kildare by 5 points, 2-11 to 12 points. Afterwards, Kildare manager Glenn Ryan stepped down. Mark Barry struck Laois's first goal 10 minutes in from the penalty spot. The sides level 1-4 to 7 points at half-time. But Laois outscored Kildare 1-7 to 5 points in the second half, their second goal coming from Evan O'Carroll in the 57th minute. They now play Antrim in the semi-final. Rory McIlroy is very much in contention heading into the final round of the US Open in North Carolina. He's just 3 off the lead in a tie for second. Bryson DeChambeau is leading on 7 under. Looking ahead to the final round showdown, live from Pinehurst is Gary Moran.
Well, McIlroy had slightly mixed feelings about his third round, even though only 3 out of the 74 players who made the halfway cut bettered his 1 under par 69 yesterday. 3 birdies in 6 holes from the 9th, including this on the 14th after a superb approach, got him to 3 under for the day, 6 under for the tournament, and only 1 shot off the lead at that moment. However, he bunkered his tee shots to the right of both back 9 par 3s, the 15th and 17th, got up and down on neither, and that dropped him back to 4 under. He's tied for second, but he is 3 shots behind the 2020 champion and now Live Tour player Bryson DeChambeau, who was runner-up at last month's PGA Championship. It was a different kind of test when DeChambeau won by 6 shots at Winged Foot. He's also different, a more easygoing and affable character now than he was then, even stopping to sign an autograph mid-round and wondering out loud what strategy he would adopt off certain tees. But the results are impressive. He is second in driving distance and 5th in strokes gained putting for the week, and will play with Mathieu Pavon from France in the final 2-ball at 7:20. Just ahead of them, Patrick Cantlay, not exactly McIlroy's best mate, will be out with the Northern Irishman. Shane Lowry is now in the top 20 on 3 over after 8. He had 3 birdies in his first 4 holes today. And Tom McKibben is 9 over par after 12, 3 over today. Gary Moran, RTE News, Pinehurst, North Carolina.
Now, after he finished his round late last night, this is what McIlroy made of it.
You know, the wind was up a little bit more, I think, today than the previous 2 days. But overall, felt like I gave a really good account of myself. Played really well. Everything was sort of... most things were firing. I had a couple of loose iron shots towards the end of the round, but overall, you know, I would have taken 1 under par on the first tees today.
The Netherlands have opened their Euros with a win. Ronald Koeman's side went a goal down to Poland in Group D. But with the aid of a deflection, Liverpool's Cody Gakpo this Sunday...
Good evening. You're welcome tonight at 9. Israeli Prime Minister denounces decision by his own military for pauses in activity to allow aid into Gaza. European leaders call on Russia to join peace talks, but say nations' territorial integrity must be respected.
Peace is only possible if Russia abides by the basic rules and values which apply to all of us.
German police shoot pickaxe-wielding man close to Euros soccer fan zone in Hamburg. and a major chance. Rory McIlroy is just 2 off the lead at the US Open. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has criticised plans announced by his own country's military to hold daily tactical pauses in fighting along one of the main roads into Gaza. The move was designed to facilitate aid delivery. Mr. Netanyahu's announcement of the plan underlines political tensions over the issue of aid coming into Gaza, where international organisations have warned of a growing humanitarian crisis.
They came to our shores with fear of the unknown.
Now they want the Taoiseach to intervene. Conor Kane, RTÉ News, Barsa County Tipperary.
Now Justin is here with All the Day's Sport.
Vivian, thank you. Good evening. It's really hotting up in every sense of the word in the final round of the US Open in North Carolina. Rory McIlroy is right in contention to end his 10-year wait for a major title. With the latest from Pinehurst, we're joined by Gary Moore.
Cocooned in concentration, McIlroy walked down the tunnel that brings you to the first tee, acknowledged his playing partner Patrick Cantlay, and set about trying to overhaul his 3-shot deficit on Bryson DeChambeau by taking an iron off the tee, hitting a wedge to 20 feet and rolling in the birdie putt. It was the perfect start, and 3 solid pars followed on. But he was very severely punished for what you could barely call an error on the 5th. A foot or two from having a 20-footer for eagle, his ball was swept down to a horrible lie in the native area, from where his recovery went into a bunker. Having splashed out, he came agonisingly close to rescuing a par, but a 6 went on the card, and he was back to level for the day, and that's how it remains. Known as the scientist and ever the tinkerer, DeChambeau found reason to switch out his driver head during his pre-round range session. It hasn't really worked out. He hasn't been as straight off the tee as he was yesterday. He too has been in the native areas with their clumps of tangly wiregrass, but he has dropped only 1 shot, so his lead is 2 over McIlroy and Cantlay. He did have 1 good look at birdie on the 7th, but it slipped by, and he remains 1 over for the round, 6 under for the tournament. Of the other 2 Irish, well, Shane Larry moved further up the leaderboard with an excellent 1 under par round of 69, and he will finish inside the top 20 on 4 over. Tom McKibben matched his playing partner, the world number 1 Scotty Scheffler, with a 72 for 8 over, but it's DeChambeau by 2 from McIlroy and Cantlay. Gary Moran, RTÉ News, Pinehurst, North Carolina.
Now, Dublin and Armagh are straight through to the All-Ireland quarter-finals. Both sides played out draws this afternoon against Mayo and Galway respectively, but topped their groups by virtue of a superior score difference.
There's the value of the score difference.
It's proven a day of Connacht frustration in the championship. Galway and Mayo must negotiate preliminary quarter-finals, though it seemed at times today that both had secured the more direct route to the final 8. At Markievicz Park, Galway were in control of their encounter with Armagh for almost an hour. Despite wind advantage, the Ulstermen trailed by 2 points at the interval. They were 5 in arrears midway through the second half. Then, on 58 minutes, a poor restart gifted a goal to Armagh, gratefully received by Kieran Kelly.
And Armagh are back in business in Markievicz Park.
Galway would edge in front again late on, but an injury time point from Stefan Campbell ensured the contest ended honours even. Crucially, it's Armagh who topped the group. Mayo's frustration came even later at Dr. Hyde Park. An enthralling contest with Dublin saw these sides level on no fewer than 11 occasions. Brian Fenton's block on Ryan O'Donoghue, one of the first half's highlights. The Dubs led 7-6 at the interval. Mayo, though, stood toe-to-toe with the champions throughout the second period, and perhaps crucially, kept Dublin goalless. Owen Marchand did come close, but O'Donoghue's 7th point of the afternoon had his side just in front, with 40 seconds of added time to go. Dublin, though, would frustrate Mayo once again, Cormac Costello matching O'Donoghue's tally with the game's very final play. It was enough to see Dublin straight through to the quarter-finals. Joe Stack, RTÉ News.
Now, Kerry were comfortable winners over Louth to win Group 4 and qualify for the quarter-finals. Monaghan's season has been extended with their win over Meath.
An away game against Tyrone, Mayo or Galway awaits Monaghan next weekend. For Meath, only a win today would have sufficed. Their season has now concluded. With Rory Beggan out of his goal, Meath fully capitalised when Monaghan lost first half possession.
Slipped through, there's still nobody in the Monaghan goal, and a chance for Cathal Hickey perhaps. And Meath have made them pay.
You could see the second the turnover happened, the Meath players had goal on their mind. It's a brilliant goal.
A 1 point half-time Monaghan lead stood at 9 following Barry McBennett's goal. Meath manager Colm O'Rourke is keen to seek another term in charge. His side rallied late in the game. At one stage, the deficit was down to 2 points, but Monaghan prevailed to win by 3.
Yeah, well, they're good lads to work with, but, the foundation has to be put in place, and we did so over the last 2 years. I think there is significant improvement from them.
And listen, sometimes you get adversity, inter-county football, you don't get it all your own way, and the boys have understood that this year, but they've always came back. And listen, we've had a few bad moments in that there, but they've stuck at it, and listen, we've turned the tide somewhat in the last 2 games, but the big test is next week.
Kerry ended Group 4 with a 100% record. Dermot O'Connor and Tadhg Morley scored second half goals in a 14-point win over Louth. Dave Kelly, RTE News.
Laois are through to the semi-final of the Charlton Cup after they beat Kildare by 5 points, 11 to 12 points. Afterwards, Kildare manager Glenn Ryan stepped down. Mark Barry struck Laois's first goal 10 minutes in from the penalty spot. The sides level at 1-4 to 7 points at half-time. But Laois outscored Kildare 1-7 to 5 points in the second half, their second goal coming from Evan O'Carroll in the 57th minute. They'll now play Antrim in the semi-final. England have got their Euro finals underway this evening against Serbia. They didn't have to wait. Ireland have wrapped up a bitterly disappointing World Cup defeat with a defeat to Pakistan by 3 wickets. Both sides were already eliminated, but Ireland got off to a calamitous start, losing 3 wickets in the opening 2 overs. They would eventually post 106. Pakistan reached that target, finishing on 111 with 7 balls to spare. And finally, just to some news coming to us tonight, and that's that the GAA has tonight voted to leave next weekend's fixtures unchanged. The hurling quarterfinals will remain on Saturday, with the Charlton Cup semi-finals staying on Sunday. That was after a motion to swap them was rejected by Central Council tonight. And that is the sport this Sunday so far, so it's back over to Vivian.